Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. First of all, let me give shouts out to recent Cash App donors. A. Mitchell, S. Jock, Brother Campbell, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Campbell. B. Warfield, D. Stewart, Mojo twice recently. Senor Coleman, D. Stewart, MLR multiple times, D. Harrell, M. Johnston, A. Dean, and Harden and Invisible Man, Armando Mayo, Matthew, no last name, Red Falls Black, and Cleveland Green. And another specific shout I want to give to MLR is because he not only comes through multiple times, but he comes through for multiple people. So from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind, I thank you, gentlemen. Next, let me tell you all about recent events and what they've shown when you put them together. Think of this as a sort of Good Morning Vietnam, where there's a news story and coming out of the theater of war. In this news story, a news update. First, we got the Sassy trucker. She's not in jail, but she's likely to be. What she got arrested for, men would be arrested for. But it turns out she acted a plumb mother cuss word fool in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. She acted a major mother cuss word fool. She attacked somebody else's husband, and a Latin American from there recorded and put it on some social media platform so that the sassy trucker couldn't later lie and say that she was assaulted. The assault victim's wife did not record it nor put hands on the sassy trucker to defend her. And so therefore, she got her mind made up that it's okay to act like this with men in general. The way she figures she looks good to men, but she can do a job that men do. So she need not ever defer to a man to be respectful, and she can't keep one. Let this be a lesson to us. The next thing that wound up being the case and wound up happening is Mary Jane Byram admitting that she is obsessed with defying people and defying rules, but still wanting to tell people her story. The thing is, when you let them talk, they tell on themselves. Then we saw the video of the lady at the altar. And when the pastor said, and to obey, she said, we didn't talk about that in counseling. And she lied, apparently, because the pastor said we did talk about that in counseling. She lied. Either the pastor's lying or she's lying. And that man, with all of this red pill information available, decided to proceed. And I'm going to tell you why that man agreed. Why did he decide to proceed with all of this? Why would he agree to this? Well, I don't agree that he should, but I know why he agreed. And I'll tell you what it comes down to. That man agreed because that's what he knows. He agreed because, as far as he can see, and this is true in the West, wherein he got married, as far as he can see, that's how women are going to behave, especially if they look like her. And his observation is actually very correct. If he moves on, goes on to the next, the same thing's going to happen again, or she's going to be unattractive, and she'll still be pressured to be disobedient. There can be no obedience from attractive women uh, as far as Western women are concerned, and that's why I say to Western men, you don't count a man's mistake at the altar. You don't look where somebody hit the ground. You look at where someone began to stumble. What was the misstep? And that stumbling begins on slippery ground or after an obstacle. And the Western woman is trained to be as much of an obstacle and as slippery a ground to tread as her looks will allow. And the men have been trained to let them get away with being such. So you don't tell a man to move on to the next. You tell him to move on by himself until he can leave. That's what you tell men. Because right now, at this point, that man is doing something. Now, what he's doing is worse than fornication. It is more dangerous to him. His intention may be fine, but it is more dangerous to him than fornication. That's what's happening now. And that's part of the gender war. She sits up and just like, we ain't talk about that in counseling. This is the gender war. All of this is part of the gender war. They're taking gambles and risk just to make sure that they are bad deals for you, nothing else. You know, some women, actually, Western women, actually stay single for long stretches at a time, not only because they're nice looking and so many guys want them so they can't find one that actually appeals to them, but they're those who stay single because they're nice looking and they know that they actually would not be that bad of a deal in the long run. They know they're not going to walk around mistreating a man all the time and being mean to him, so they stay out of relationships because they don't want to be shamed for being nice by their friends later on. There are women that avoid that for that reason. Because not being good to you is paramount. What else is going on? You're looking also at videos in which a bunch of ladies past the wall are beginning to record and talk about how bad dating is and dating apps and the whole experience and being ghosted. One woman sat up and said that a man said, wait a minute, your sign is the same as my ex's. And your birthday is the same as my ex's. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, play the number. And he said, you know what, F, and I'm going to do that. And then he ghosted her. And she was complaining about this, failing to realize that this is too much of a coincidence. She was online with one of her exes the whole time. That's why that man ghosted her. That man said, that's who the hell she is. This is my ex. So things really showed me something when uh, the day before yesterday, on Friday morning, my time, I woke up and I saw this video of this man, a comedian, on Instagram complaining about dating in LA because he got stood up. And he showed the flowers that he bought her. And the funny thing is that he's a comedian. So I think that was a skit. Now, there was no punchline to it. So I guess he was trolling about the difficulty that people were having dating. But the way that everyone reacted, man and woman alike, was not a reaction to a comedy skit. Because there was no punchline. I understand that. I'm not blaming people. Everyone's reaction was to a real extant phenomena. And that tells you how bad it is. But the way that sisters were talking, the way that brothers were talking, showed a lot of the problem. Get you some swag. No. I've always been one of those that has believed that we should not imitate white folk in the way that we speak, dress, or anything else. I've always been one of those people. But a sister said to him, go to a barber, not in Pasadena, but in Compton. Wear a white shirt. Ask him to hook you up. Tip him. Because women like swag and confidence. And I'll tell you straight away, if women like swag and confidence, there still has to be something else at play here. Something else that there's got to be something else that we have to point out. And that is that while women have every right to like that, they have to also have it if they demand it. Don't bring insecurities talking about a man can't be insecure. Because Western women have too many of them. Arrogance, but still insecurities. Arrogance in the face of men, but insecurities about what women are going to say. That's the first thing. Secondly, what the hell do they define as swag and confidence? Nigger stereotypes. That's how they define it. Jigaboo, porch monger, tree swinging, spear chucking, Tarzan chasing stereotypes. And they're still not learning anything. The only thing the brothers have been doing that has turned out to be right is if you must stay in the West, stay single. Because now at this point, marriage, hell, even getting married at your temple, your synagogue, or the masjid, or the church without registering it with the state, even getting married under those terms and not registering it with the state can be about as dangerous as fornication. Marriage registered with the state is as dangerous as fornication. Actually more, I'm sorry, it's more dangerous than fornication. And fornication is dangerous. Them women do not leave you be. You don't get to smash and dash. It's not how that works. When a woman allows you to smash and dash, understand that some of you super select guys that say, well, you know what, let me leave with no problem. Understand, when a woman allows you to do that, that's because she's already figured out who else she's going to pin it on. With DNA testing available, a lot of these women are still willing to take a gamble because by the time you find out, the wrong man has spent a lot of his time and resources raising another man's kids. That's why it's more important that they hurt you. That's the whole point of it. And this is what I wanted y'all to take away from that. that everything that happened recently, when you put them together and add them up, is more evidence of what I've been saying from before. It's hyperbolic, but it's true. They're at war. We're not. We didn't start it. We're not interested in being at war with them, but they're at war with us, and they're not going to allow us peace. They can't. It is considered treacherous for them to allow us even so much as peace. And that's why if you leave the West, they got something to say about you. That's why. So it's war. And your unhappiness is more paramount to them than their happiness. So even when I tell you that it's war, don't think that they have some sort of interests that are convenient to them for which they're fighting. Nations might do that. They fight wars for their own interest. No. This war they're fighting against you is less about their own interest and more against your interest. And your interest, think about this. As men, we are actually simple. So for them to fight against our interest is one of the most satanic motivations that anybody can have. I mean, keep in mind, one of the things that I want you to notice about Shaitan is that Shaitan is not acting in his best interest. Shaitan does all he does against the whole species of mankind because he hated Adam, alayhi salam. So he's been against mankind and works against his own interest all the time. He does this all of the time, gains nothing from it, except that when it's time for him to go to hell, a bunch of human beings will follow him. That's all. You are facing a similar motivation from the wicked witches of the West. It's the same thing. There's nothing that they gain from this in the long run. A few material trinkets here and there if they succeed in duping a baller of some sort. But a lot of them don't even succeed in that. And so what do they gain? Nothing except making sure you don't gain. Nothing but being difficult to you. Keep that in mind, gentlemen. That not only is this evidence of the war, but these more recent events have been evidence of their motive in this war, which is more about destroying you and going against you and your nature than it is even about anything they have to gain. That's your loss. That is their goal and their motive. It is not their gain. And that is a very satanic way to feel. They hate you more than they love themselves. And they just proved it several times over. But you won't know from just one instance. You got to look at all of these in context, and then you will see what motivates all of them. I hope that this helps in my attempt to tie it together for you. And thank you for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. On your way out of the jet black aircraft, punch the Cash App, but only enter in numbers that are small to you. Thank you for flying again with me on Jet Black Airways, where Jet Black is also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.